Mm.
Zoom recording it.
Hello, everyone. Um, Hi, my name is Dr. Ife Odofin, and I'm so happy to be here today, and I'm happy to see everyone's face. For all those I can see their faces, it'll be nice to see everyone's face. Um, Welcome to the parenting series, Raising Well and Resilient Children. Today is the third month in a row, and it has been we've really had a good time. We've really learned a lot in the past few sessions. And today we have two lovely ladies speaking to us today. Um, what I would say is, if I go back to the beginning, this is the community initiative of preventing mental health in children, and the parenting series is part of it. And we know that in the society we live in today, parenting plays a big role in the outcome of every child. And so as professionals, we are trying to be proactive and see what we can do as parents and as professionals and as people in the community to actually bring the best possible outcome for our children. So today we have two lovely ladies. Our first speaker is a lovely, our own BWIH member, Funmilayo Oyeyemi-Ogunremi. And she's a pharmacist, she's an independent prescriber, she's the founder of a health UI company. And the peculiar thing about Fumi is that Fumi has teenage children. So she's going to talk to us today about her experience and obviously talking about positive parenting with children in puberty. So this will be beneficial for everyone who has children that are pre-pubertal and who are already in puberty. And our second speaker is a parenting coach. She is a teacher in the UK sector, which for me, I think that's very peculiar, but I'll introduce her when it gets to the time. For everyone who has questions, please feel free to pop it in the chat box and we will take them as we go along. And I just want to use this opportunity to thank the leadership of BWIH. You guys have all been amazing, and thank you for your amazing support. I believe this is very beneficial to all of us and to the community as large. Unfortunately, we won't be able to stream it on Facebook today, but we should be able to get the YouTube video downloaded for everyone to watch at their own convenience, at your own convenience. So, Fumi, please, can you take the stage? Spotlight to Fumi, please. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks. So do I have the access to share my screen now? Yeah.
So we'll pop you on the spotlight and see why we do that for us.
Okay.
One.
Oh, I think I do now.
Yes, you can share. Everyone can
Yeah,
share.
then right at the bottom.
Can you see me? Can you see it? Can you see my screen? No?
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, let's try this again. You see it now?
Yes, we can. Yep. Well done.
Lovely. Cool. So thank you. Wait. Let's get this done. Yeah, so continuing in the parenting series, Raising Well and Resilient Children, I'm going to be talking about dealing with the challenges of puberty to create a positive outcome. Just like I was introduced, my name is Funmilayo Oyeyemi-Ogunremi. And what really gives me the privilege to be able to speak to you today is the fact that I'm mom to 3 teenagers. I'm a puberty survivor. I'm a pharmacist. So I'm going to be drawing my experiences, from personal experiences as being a mom, a puberty survivor, a pharmacist, and based on research work I've done. First, my quick introductions. I see resilience as strong adaptation, within significant adversity. So it's like the state of being strong, either physically, emotionally, or socially, when exposed to that harm or physical challenge or emotional challenge. Whereas vulnerability is a weak adaptation before that significant adversity happens. So the child is probably weak, before that challenging situation happened. They feel exposed before that challenging situation happens. And it's also important just to say here that, children can show resilience in one area, but be vulnerable in another area. So even though they're academically sound, they've got educational resilience, but when it comes to something like sex education or understanding the challenges, they are vulnerable in that area. So I'm hoping that by the end of today, I've shown you how to help a child to build resilience in the puberty process, or move a child who is vulnerable to now stay resilient in the puberty process. I think I imagine that we've all gone through puberty, so I'm not going to stay too long on this, the science of what goes on in our body. I'll just summarize it very quickly. The breast begins to develop, hair growth starts happening all over. Girls usually start like age 11, much earlier than boys, and their breasts start to become like adult-like within 4 years. They get a lot of hair growth, and they can even get it in really embarrassing places like their top lips, which make them self-conscious. They start to sweat more, they can get acne, they get their first period, they go to the growth spurt. Boys start much later, around age 12, and testicles get bigger, their penis and testicles grow, they get pubic hair as well. They get facial hair, they start to sweat more. Their breasts can also start to, swell up, and this will disappear after some time. And, this is different from man boobs, which can stay, where some of them will have to get like a cosmetic procedure because they feel self-conscious about it. Just like the girls, they too will have wet dreams, their voice breaks and it gets permanently deeper. I remember when my boy, when his voice started to break, he thought something was stuck in his throat, and he would try to cough it out, thinking something was stuck. But I had to explain to him these are body changes. No matter how much you try to cough it out, your voice will still stay that way. It will still be deep. They'll to develop acne, and they go to the growth spurt. So this causes mood changes in puberty, because what happens is that like the girls, for example, when their breasts are developing, it can be very sore, and one might start before the other, so it kind of prolongs that process for them. And like we know, a lot of girls have period pains as well, and like I said with the boys as well, going through that body change, their private part is changing, their voice is going deeper. They just have these different mood changes. Some are happy, some are excited. So my puberty survivors on this platform today, I want you all to think for 10 seconds, one word to describe your puberty experience. I know we haven't got much time, so it's just going to be thinking today for 10 seconds. What one word would you use to describe your puberty experience? So a survey in UK, they put like boys and girls together, and they asked them to use one word to describe their puberty experience. And this is what they had to say. I'm hoping that some of you will have said words like this, or thought of words like this: insecure, no, uncomfortable, painful, afraid, embarrassed, ashamed, terrifying, strange, freak out, pleased, excited, relaxed. So the reason for doing this is to show that puberty is a stage of rapid growth, and every child's experience will be different. So it's a personal journey. So resilience in puberty is a personal journey. Every child is unique, and what they're exposed to is different. So the emphasis here is really on personal ownership. I'm not going to talk too much. I'm not going to read all this, but it's just, a 19-year-old girl in London talking about how she felt, boys made her feel very dirty and disgusting because, she was having periods that, it made her feel really ashamed about what she was going through. Which brings me to my point, talking about girls and boys. Now, now you understand the relevance of me bringing up this, when I conclude this slide. Now, a woman can only get pregnant approximately 2 days in 1 month. Calculated, that is approximately 24 days in 1 year. The timing for being pregnant to a woman giving birth is 9 months. If you calculate that, that's approximately maximum of 2 births. So she can only have like 2 births, from pregnancy to birth, maximum of 2 in 1 year. She can have multiple births, like we all know. However, a man can cause pregnancy 365 days. That's every single day in 1 year. If the girl does not want to get pregnant, she has to be the one to take the pill, wear the patch, have hormone-filled ring inserted into her vagina, use hormone-secreting implants, use a copper ID to prevent pregnancy. She also might need to take the morning pill if all this fails. And the shocking thing is that none of this is available over the counter. However, if the boy does not want to cause pregnancy, all he has to do is walk into any store, absolutely any store, and he can get a pack of condoms. He can even get it for free. So do we have birth control wrong? What are we saying to our kids? I feel the society has trained men, right from the time they're young, that, their pleasure is of utmost importance. So really, my reason for bringing this slide up is just for us to be conscious and start to teach our boys, start to model them to be more sensitive and respectful to what women are going through, their challenges. We're raising the next generation of men, and I think we need to be modeling them for the future. Likewise, as well, I think for the girls, we also need to be, teaching them self-respect. Like, one thing I say to my daughter, well, she's going to be 18, I tell her to wear confidence, that confidence is beautiful. I try to tell her, like, anybody trying to bring you down is already beneath you. And I try to explain that respect yourself. The more you respect yourself, the more people will respect you as well. So I'm going to rush through as well 3 dynamics that can impact resilience in puberty. I feel like, these 3 things, society, the school system, teachers, parents, carers, grandparents, siblings, aunties, uncles, which I also call substitute parents. I feel like these 3 dynamics are like the main that can actually shape a child going through puberty process. Talking about society, we all might know about sexualization of girls, that, and the fact that, they're reaching puberty at younger and younger ages, and, how the way society responds to their body changes can impact them. We live in a society where when the girl starts to develop breasts, they start to have that figure, they automatically tag them as ready for marriage when they're actually not. I also want to quickly read this quote from a 10-year-old child. She started breast development quite early. And this is what she had to say. She said, "The steps from older men made me feel anxious and unsafe. Every time a stranger made kissing sounds as I walked by, my heart pounded and my mouth turned dry. If I close my eyes, I can still hear their voices yelling obscenities from passing vehicles. I am once again a 10-year-old child, afraid of wearing shorts in public." I think I just want to draw our mind to the fact that, girls face a lot of unwanted comments when they're walking down the streets. But this is still minor compared to, like, the violences, the sexual violences that they might be facing when they're, walking down with their friend. And I also want to talk about the important role of the internet. I know a lot of people have a negative connotation to, like, the online, thinking, oh, there's a lot of cyberbullying, body image shaming. You need to be careful what kind of resources you find there. But what I found from the research I did is that when it comes to puberty and education, teenagers actually feel that they can get more information from there. They feel like there's peer support systems there. They have anonymous online chat rooms where they can talk to about what they're going through, the body changes they're going through. My daughter and her friends, interestingly, they use the period tracker apps. So she knows when her period, is irregular. And she's like, oh, mommy, my period is just all over the place again. So the period tracker apps is good. I know they use online articles. I follow BuzzFeed. I know BuzzFeed is actually a very good one. I know YouTube is also good. They have, very good platforms. So it's just to show that, the internet might have its own disadvantage, but I think when it comes to puberty, I don't think it's really that bad. So talking about society and what it means for the Black woman or man in the UK, these are also quotes I found online where they feel that nobody cares about them. And that's because they feel even the Black men and women, they don't care about them. So why should they listen to them? Why should their voices be heard when even the Black women and men's voices are not heard? There's also that angry Black women stereotype, there's racism, sexism, and, which all contribute to the problem. And the negative words also from students and the educators, like, oh, the Black child is a lousy one, is a sassy, rude, or difficult ones, can actually affect them when they're transiting from that puberty stage into adulthood. So yeah, that brings me to talking about the school system. I said earlier about, educational resilience, comparing it to, sex education. And research actually shows this, that, a lot of African children, they're academically sound. When it comes to, being strong educationally, they're fine. But when it comes to, understanding the challenges of puberty, they seem to be lacking a lot. The other interesting thing I found is that, parental influences, they're very strong at an early stage. But as a child begins to grow, research shows that, the influence of teachers becomes stronger in the academic success of the child. Who knows, maybe this has a role to play, I don't know. Yeah, so this is just yet again talking about, parental influences. They're strong early, but then they start to, disappear later. So talking about disengagement from the educational system, I found that, low teacher expectations, with the Black kids, the race-related stressor, the classroom climate, all this contribute to them be disengaged from the educational system. And what this does is it makes them withdraw, it makes them interact minimally, they fail to find their niche, they have that low level of commitment to the learning process. And this might even affect them learning when school is doing that sex education. And what does school teach? School basically just teaches from year 5. They teach puberty from year 5. My kids have been through that process, and they cover like sex, and body parts, the kind of things you will find in a normal science lesson. That is the kind of things they would do. And you have the right to withdraw your child if you want. It's not like a mandatory thing, which I think is good. So what does school cover? They cover menstrual health, they cover hygiene, they cover informed consent. Now, the LGBTIQ is like the new, it's like a new thing. It's just been recently added to the guideline. And I think it's really about inclusion. It's about inclusiveness of that child who is a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, intersex, and the queer questioning. This is beyond my scope, but I just thought I'll mention this. I know when my kids had it in secondary school, it talked about including that child and, including the family where that child comes from, whether it's a gay couple or lesbian couple. So it teaches them also to be inclusive of those kind of families. School also teaches social media and the internet, sexting, and revenge porn. So what schools don't teach? This is a big one now, because this is what creates the opportunity for us, what schools don't teach. So what should we teach? I think for us, the bigger question also is, how do we create the opportunity to teach these kids? Parental monitoring, I think for me, is a big one, and I'll just quickly define it. I think I have it down. Parental monitoring is just, parents being aware of their children's activities, from like supervision, controlling of their day-to-day activities, minimizing risk of exposure, monitoring any extracurricular activities they're doing. Excuse me, sorry. And research has shown that two-parent households manage this better. And the reason for this really is because this monitoring, so they show that, children that come from two-parent household manage this better than people that come from single-parent household. And the reason for this is not because they feel that the single parents are not doing well, but found that it was because of financial constraints and time. Those were the two main things. So I imagine there'll be single moms on this forum. So it's not just to make you feel bad, like it's just, the time and financial constraint that makes a difference between a single family and, an adult, and a two-parent family. Yeah, so I feel parental monitoring is very important. There is no doubt, because, images of sex are everywhere. It's accessible, it's everywhere. Our children are exposed to this everywhere they are. Explicit materials, both off and online, and parents have to step in. We just have to step in. So another quick exercise for you, puberty survivors. 10 seconds, yet again. So in your time, how did you survive puberty? Who did you talk to? Did you talk to your friend, girlfriend, or boyfriend? A parent, guardian or carer, a family member, a teacher, or did you just struggle on your own? In honesty, I can't remember. I think I did a mix. I think I did a mix of teacher and family member. In fact, with friends, I think I did all, really, to be honest. I did a mix of everything. So it's just to buttress the fact, who are the young people talking to about puberty? The survey that I found shows that 11% of girls had been told not to talk about their periods in front of their fathers. 12% of girls had been told not to talk about their periods in front of their mothers. Now, it's interesting that, the percentage between talking to fathers and mothers is just a difference of 1%. I found that very interesting. Now, 20% of girls feel comfortable discussing their periods with school teachers or staff. Now, the reason for bringing this to awareness is that not all of us will have that bond to be able to speak to our child. It's just that we will not have that bond to be able to speak to your child about puberty. It's just to make you aware that, the child might feel comfortable getting that information from somewhere else, from someone else. Fine, if you have that parent that has that bond with your child, they can talk to you about everything, but they might be able to talk to you about everything. But when it comes to things like puberty, their body changes, they might just not feel comfortable. So it's just to say, don't push it. The most important thing is for them to get access to the right information. Don't push it, So moving on, my approaches is parental monitoring, like I said, starting the early conversations, diet, sleep. Medication, I'm not going to talk too much on medication. I just thought I'd mention that because, people are thinking the pharmacist, maybe she's going to say one or two things about medication today. So potential things that can be picked up on when you do the parental monitoring, of course, is overthinking the stressful situations. Puberty is a time when, kids are going through changes that they cannot control. They just cannot control it. And, they start to stress, I'm already 12, I'm already 14, I haven't started my period yet. Or look at the other girl, look at her breast, she's all well formed. They start thinking about, stressful situations. And, when you're involved, this is when you start to pick up things like this, or the repeated talk about upsetting situation with friends, particularly with girls. This is actually very common with girls. They start to fall out, maybe boys showing more attention to those that are, more full up there and behind. Or they worry about potential social rejection, especially the ones that have delayed puberty, or those that start early. They can start to get bullied because of that. Their peers, they start to fall out with their peers. So, when you monitor, these are the kind of things you would pick up. You'll pick up things like impulsive reactions when they're upset. You can pick up, them being rebellious, especially at this point. So what works? I think use of teachable moments with them is very important. Open and honest, simple languages. One thing I found with kids are sometimes, the languages of vocabulary we use for them is just too complicated and they just don't get it. That is why they don't do the things you tell them to do. It's not because they don't want to. So it's also using that positive messages, not complaining or being critical of what they're doing. And I feel for me, the gold standard, really, nothing beats spending time with your kids. That is just the gold standard, spending time with them. Early conversations, I think it's good because, you start talking about the vocabulary quite early. One child didn't know how much blood she was going to lose. She felt like, oh, I was reading about how much blood I'm going to lose when I start my period. So I think start talking about, puberty and the experiences you've had very early on. So they start getting used to even the vocabulary. I also want to quickly read out this quote from a year 6. She said, the first time I heard about it was in year 6. And we were split into boys and girls to change for PE. And the PE teacher said, oh, by the way, girls, if you need pads, they are in the downstairs toilet. It was literally like 10 seconds and that was it. There was no like, a pad is for your period. A lot of girls might have known this. We just never got told anything officially. I mean, this is a girl in year 6 who didn't even know what a pad was. So for me, I think, start talking about, the vocabulary quite early. And 1 in 4 girls have been shown that they weren't prepared for that period. They didn't even know what to do. So talking about diets, obesity has been linked to starting periods very early. And one thing I found, racial differences in diet. There's a strong correlation with our diet, interestingly. Phytoestrogens are found in soya. Interestingly, when I did my master's, I actually did it on this particular topic. I actually extracted this hormone from soya beans. Now, soya beans contains a natural estrogen. It's an hormone which is released in the woman's body that regulates the menstrual cycle. And, research shows that, we tend to eat a lot of phytoestrogen-rich diet, things like the soya beans, the yam, the cassava, which can delay puberty. So I just put other sources of, diet, iron, vitamin D, which, we know is actually very low in Black kids and generally Black children and adults. Calcium is also good. Yeah. So sleep. I want to say many teens have the energy to play computer games until late at night, but they can't find the energy to get out of bed in time for sleep, in time for school. Now, interestingly, I found a research that actually was able to explain this, why, they want to have a lie-in, but getting up very early is like a big problem for them. So there's what we call melatonin. Some people call it a sleep hormone or darkness hormone. It helps us to fall asleep. Most adults start to produce this at about 10 p.m. But teenagers, interestingly, start to produce it around 1 a.m. Well, that's what the research found. So maybe this explains why, children still feel very sleepy during the daytime. A teenage boy might report that he feels too tired to go to school every day. It's fatigue. Now, imagine the combination of, his body going through that changes, that hormonal changes is going through his body. Now, he is not producing his melatonin until 1 a.m. So when he's going to school, he's already feeling very tired. He might be falling asleep in class, and this is what we call sleepiness. And yet he will have the energy to do things like school, sports, and social activities because he's not fatigued. Now, sleepiness is defined as an increased tendency to fall asleep, and up to 40% of healthy teens actually experience this regular sleepiness. So it's just for us to be mindful that, it's not them being rebellious all the time or being want to be wayward. It's just so much is happening to their body at the same time. And recommendation is a maximum of 8 to 10 hours of sleep for teenagers. And my tips will be a screen-free bedroom. My son is 16 and he still needs to have a screen in his room. He will not sleep if there isn't some form of light in his room. Or, I mean, if you can find a way to go around that, fine. Give them their privacy, a relaxing routine, exercising regularly, drinking water, cutting down on the high energy or fizzy drinks. So talking about medication, this is not my scope. The puberty blockers. I mean, I know we have a lot of clinicians on this forum. They might have, more experience with things like this, using puberty inhibitors, which can be used to delay puberty. They're mostly used off license for transgender children anyway, to delay development of unwanted sex characteristics. There's the morning after pill, which a girl can use within 24 to 72 hours of having unprotected sex. Well, this is different from, the regular contraceptive pill, which needs to be used on a regular basis to prevent, getting pregnant. And we've talked about iron. So it's just to say that besides getting iron from your diet, you can also get iron tablets. Besides getting calcium and vitamin D from your diet, you can also get the tablets as well. And that's me done. Any questions? I rushed through that really quickly because if you had been telling me, we don't have much time. So any questions? 1 second.
Thank you so much, Funmi, for that talk on puberty, which was really enlightening to every one of us. And since someone has asked a question, exactly the sort of questions I expect people to ask actually, how do you talk to a teenage boy about sex education as a parent?
What sex? 1 second, I need to put this, it's on low battery. So sorry about this.
If you have any questions, please pop in the chat box.
Oh yeah.
For the next, yeah.
Sorry, what was the question? How to talk to a
teenage boy about sex education?
About sex education.
Yeah,
like I said, well, I could look at it from, one of the things I said, it's not every boy or every child that will want to talk to you about that. Not all of them will want to talk to you. You just need not to push it. I feel, it's that parental monitoring and, spending time with them that make you know that don't push it. It's those two things that'll make you know, it is safe for me to speak to them about. They might just feel uncomfortable. I won't push it. I think for me, the most important thing is getting them the right information. And using the teachable moments, so it's not like, oh, sit down, let's talk about, it's more or less like finding those moments when you're out together, or maybe you're watching a movie together and, something happens and you're like, oh, do you even know this happens to boys in the morning? They get, we call wet dreams, or they get that, or boys get that involuntary ejaculation in the morning. Do you guys know this? So it's just so I think for boys, it shouldn't be all the sit down, let's talk about it. It's more or less finding those moments to be chipping it here and there, and some might find it more comfortable talking to maybe a teacher or member of staff. I would say let them go for that sex education talk in school. I mean, I did it, and I didn't have any worries or concerns about it. Yeah.
Okay, it's a valid question now. Now, the next one, I like that thing about teachable moments. Thank you so much for that. I think it's more like learning as you go along, as you watch the movie, as you see people, as you talk about third parties, then you use that as an opportunity to actually pass on a message indirectly. I think that's a very, very good tip, especially with teenagers.
Yeah.
Now, there's a second question that's very interesting. Do you mind sharing your experience with your 16? Okay, do you mind sharing your experience with your 16-year-old boy on sex education? How did you talk to him about it, or did you talk to him about it, or you use the teachable moments?
I did use teachable moments. That's what I always use with my kids. Yeah. Even my daughter, I've never done like sit down, let's talk about it. I mean, interestingly, I still talk to my 13-year-old about, which is why, I remember that about a couple of days ago, I still talk to my 13-year-old about, that involuntary ejaculation, or having, I think there's a slang they use for, when your penis is hard in the morning, something wood or something. Morning wood. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember talking to him about it. I just use the moments like, we're watching a movie and, I just use the opportunity to talk about it. Yeah, that's what I do. I don't do like, oh, sit down, let's talk about.
Then how do you deal with the grogginess? You know how teenagers are. And obviously, I mean, I really learned a lot about talking about the sleep cycle. So obviously they wake up in the morning, not having had enough sleep, and they have to go to school, and half the time they're frustrated and they're just like, I don't want to live. I have nowhere to live. I just, you know what I mean? How do you deal with that? Like, how does that not get you worked up? How do you not just feel like literally punching them in the face and saying, shut up and go to school? Like, how do you see that? Like, tell us, how do you manage that? Because they're usually very moody.
Yeah, I know. I think sleep is one thing, letting them go to bed early. I know we're talking about, the sleep pattern is, is out of kilter anyway, because, their body system is all over the place. Yet again, I'll say sleep is very important. Sending them to bed. I know sometimes you send them to bed
and they don't go.
And they don't sleep.
Exactly.
They're not sleeping. So I think it's a for me, how did I do it? I don't think it really stressed me, in all honesty. I think for me, it didn't really stress me, because maybe I was doing all this. I was already doing all these things, making sure they eat healthy, trying to get them to do exercises, going out to jog or cycling. So going to sleep early.
So you had a bit more proactive approach to it.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why I was more proactive. So it didn't. I think for me, interestingly, for my son, actually, correction, the time I think I really struggled was that school transition, where, he had a moderately fun time when he started secondary school. And then things suddenly got intense with preparation for GCSE.
Okay.
And that was at the time that, he was going through puberty. It was a challenging time. I know he started being rebellious, having that wayward attitude. And I remember one thing I did with him, because I had to research about it myself.
Yeah.
I sat him down. I said, look, I understand you have a lot of energy inside you, and you don't know where to dissipate this energy. So I understand, but please, let's work together on this. I remember for me, what made the difference with my son was I actually had a sit-down conversation about that energy. Like, he just had a lot of energy with him. He was always very restless. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think it's really useful. And the summary of what you said basically is that we should be very proactive about it, and thinking about why they do the things they do, and how to take those teachable moments to sort of help support them. Someone commented, a colleague in psychiatry recently told me that a year 5 sex education now contains porn. I've heard that too. Yeah, based on the information she got from her CAMS posting. I'm yet to verify. From your experience having your children attend these classes, was anything like this reported to you by any of your kids? I think I've heard that from my friends' kids. They do show, I heard that they showed a video, but I think you have to decide as a parent whether you want them to watch it. And the video shows sexual activity, not necessarily, I don't know if it's like the whole foreplay and the details, but yes, the video actually shows what people do to procreate. Yeah. So, I mean, Fumi, what did your children tell you about that video?
Yeah, I think for me, my kids didn't experience that. They didn't
Okay.
have that. I know in
Hmm.
secondary school, they did teach them about revenge porn. In my kids' secondary school, they teach them about revenge porn. I think they just talk about it. No, they didn't watch any such video. No, I mean,
So what is revenge porn? Like, literally, don't laugh. I don't know what that is.
yeah, it's just from the word revenge, like,
Yeah.
maybe like a boyfriend and girlfriend making a sex video
Mm-hmm.
and then using that to
Got the video
blackmail that
to
I'm going
blackmail
to.
the other person. Oh, it has a name, revenge porn. Oh my god. Oh, thanks for that. Anyway, thanks everybody for participating in this first part of the session. Thank you for me so much for giving us this lovely presentation. And I think it's very useful that we all get very proactive about understanding the children as they approach puberty. Um, without much ado, where is Ebiere? Ebiere, are you there? So our next speaker is Ebiere Bolu. Can I find her on?
Hello.
Hi, Ebiere. Hello. Nice to have you here. Can we put the spotlight on you? Hello, hello. So Ebiere Bolu is a lovely lady. She is a very lovely lady. That's the first thing. So she's a parenting coach, and she does a lot of education on social media for us. She's also an A-level teacher, so she has experience with older children. She's also a mother. She's a mother of two lovely boys, and her approach to parenting is very different from mine. She's all for inclusive and all loving, no tough love, no delivering consequences. Kiss them and hug them, and they'll be the best. So we're not here to bash anybody's parenting styles, but I think Ebiere has a lot of value to add to us today. She has lots of experience in it, and she also works in the educational sector. So she's going to talk to us today about purposeful parenting. And yes, so there you go. The floor is yours. If you have any questions, the chat box.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm sure you can hear me because no one's complaining. So yes, I know that I seem to, when I started speaking publicly about my parenting style, I didn't realize it was that different until I kept getting questions. So I thought it was pretty normal. But, Dr. Ife is absolutely right. I do believe and I hold on strongly to love being the way. Having said that, they do need consequences. We all face consequences in life, but love wins all the time. Now, let's go to how to raise resilient kids. So I'm going to just share my slides. Let me see. Just help me out here. All right, hold on. Share screen. So I will share this with you so that we can. I have no idea how long I have, but I'm sure Dr. Ife will let me know. So hopefully you can see my screen. That's who I am, Ebiere Bolu. I'll be talking to you about raising resilient children. I've been an A-level economics teacher for 15 years. So I've been teaching 16 to 18-year-olds. And I also work with kids teaching maths from age 4 to 18. So I have a lot of experience with a lot of kids, different types of kids. And for me, working in school, some of what Funmi said, thank you so much. I could see it because I see that with the different children at different stages. But also my real passion is not about getting them to get the A grade in maths or economics, which I teach. It's really about raising the child to thrive. And that's in everything, not just academically, but emotionally, socially. I believe that every child is born with a unique purpose. There's something unique inside of them that they can contribute to the world to make the world a better place. I truly believe that about all of us here. We're all doing things to add value to our world. And that's how I see our children. So from that point of view, I feel like they are born to do this, and it's the adults around them that could actually enhance that ability and encourage them to do this. Or actually, if we get it wrong, we can stop them from actually releasing their true potential. So it's a very important topic for me. And the number one is parents. Parents have the unique voice and the most influential impact on the children. It's true that as they get older, they start to listen more to their friends. Well, They're teachers, I would say it really depends on whether they like us or not. So relationship is very important, but really their friends take a big listening ear. So it's very important, parents, but whatever we do, the kind of relationship we have with them will make the difference. So let's talk about what resilience is. So I know that we all have our idea about what resilience is, and mine thankfully isn't different to yours. I did my quick definition research and I'll share it with you. I love that Fumi also spoke about academic resilience versus emotional resilience. Absolutely, absolutely. And I see that in class, so I see that teaching all the time. In my life, I had the academic resilience, and you're right that a lot of, not all, but a lot of African children tend to do well. Guess what? We tend to focus a lot on the academics, so fine. But we also, in doing that, miss the emotional side, generally. Right? So you see a pattern where the academic side is there, but we're not really dealing with the emotional side as well. But if we're being honest, the academic resilience is good for achievement. It gets you into the room. I always say that it gets you into the room, but the emotional resilience is what keeps you in there and keeps you going. So actually the emotional side, the social side, the mental resilience is way more important than the academic. If we can get that side right, the academic will come anyway. So this is something I believe, something I see all the time. You mentioned GCSEs and A-levels. I teach A-levels. So with GCSEs and A-levels, that's when they crack under pressure if they don't have the emotional resilience. So let's talk about what it is very quickly. The capacity to recover quickly. As we go through these definitions, I want you to think about yourself and areas in which you've been resilient, because there are times that, as a previous speaker said, you're resilient in some areas, but in some other areas, you're not so resilient. So again, think about when you've been resilient, because we want to intentionally raise resilient kids. Very important for life. Recover quickly. Resilience gives you the strength to cope with stress. Mental reservoir of strength, and this allows you to carry on through without falling apart. So raising a resilient kid is being able to raise a child who can recover quickly from difficult situations, can cope with stress, and has the mental reservoir of strength. Now, I'm going to use a physical example to help you understand what raising a resilient kid is actually about. Bearing in mind, it's actually in our minds. Resilience is in our mind. It's not something tangible you can hold. It's whether we're resilient or not is going on in here. However, I'll use something physical so that we can see how resilience plays out physically. So let's use an athlete. And I think we'll all agree that athletes are resilient, right? Generally, if you're going to the Olympics, you probably have a lot of resilience. That means that if you think about an athlete running a race, if that athlete, and you've seen it when you watch the Olympics, you've seen them trip up, some of them, you've seen some of them fall. You say, what do they do every time? They get back up. You see these Olympic level athletes, they fall, whatever happens, someone trips them up, they get back up. Now, why are they able to get back up is what I want to bear in mind, because that's what we want to learn so we can teach our kids, right? Why are they able to get back up? Number one. Number two, coping with stress. Again, an athlete. Anybody here that even goes to the gym, forget about the Olympics for now. You are putting yourself under physical stress. I'm speaking to medical professionals here. You put yourself under stress as you went through your training. If you're an athlete, you put yourself under stress, but you were able to cope with it. Why? That's what we want to know. So we want to understand the whys. Why did they get back up? Why do they put themselves under the stress as an athlete or you as medical professionals and cope with it? What is it that they have that allows them to cope with it? That's what we want to learn, because that's what we want to teach our kids. Next thing, the mental reservoir of strength. I want you to just pause and realize it's a reservoir of strength, meaning that they have strength in them. So they're tapping into something that has been built into them and they're using them to carry on. So that tells you that for our children, that just gives you a clue that for our children to be resilient, they need to have a mental reservoir of strength. They need to have something they can tap into when they meet the obstacle, when they fall flat. Can people just give me an idea, just so if I see if you're thinking like I'm thinking, what makes the athlete get back up when they fall? What is it? Just if you have any idea, just put it in. What makes the athlete get back up when they fall? Because that would tell us what our children need. I don't know if I can see each other, but if you put any comments in,
Eye on the goal. Eyes on the goal.
Eyes on the prize. I love that. Eyes on the prize. I think you're getting where I'm going. More things. Oh, it's flashing to say chat. Let me try and read. Oh gosh, 10. Okay, so let me try and read because it's very important. I apologize that because I'm sharing, I can't really see the chat. So if anyone can help me out to tell me what people are putting in. What is it that people are, why do they?
The prize, the goal, the goal, the determination, the trophy, the will to win, the goal, the goal.
Okay, the goal. Okay, we're all saying the goal. I love that. You get back up because of the goal. But let me just say something that I want us to remember. Number one, I totally agree with you. My main message is raising your child on purpose. And when I mean on purpose, it's not just intentionally, raising them with a purpose. If they don't have a goal, direction, purpose, you cannot motivate them to keep moving. I see 16 to 18-year-olds all the time that just think, I can't deal with this stress anymore because they don't have a vision of where they're going. If you're raising your child without a purpose in mind, and let me just interrupt myself there and say, top university is not a goal. It's not a goal. Let me just tell you, it's not a goal.
Ivy League is not a goal.
Ivy League is not a goal.
Ivy League is not a goal. Whoa.
Okay, I'm telling you, raising your child to get to the best university is not a tangible goal. It's not a goal that will keep them moving. It's your goal, it's not theirs. What you need is a goal that the runner wants, the runner desires for. They don't know what Harvard is. It doesn't matter how many times you tell them. What they will be running towards is something that is pulling them from within, and that lies in their strengths, but that's a whole different webinar. So the goal, but the other thing that makes that athlete stand up, I'll give you a clue and I'll give you the answer. If Usain Bolt was to trip up, he will get back up because he believes he will win. It's self-belief. Because if I happen to get into the Olympics, we all know anyway, I don't believe I can win. And I fell, I'll just be like, well, I tried. But when you know what's in you and you know what lies ahead, you will get back up and you will keep going. Self-belief, self-love, self-image keeps you going. That's key. So you want your child to be resilient, you need to pump them up with self-belief, self-love, self-image, crucial. And then they have to have a goal, a prize, something they're going towards. I'll just say one more thing. If you keep putting external prizes, like I know we use the metaphor of a trophy and I do agree, but if you keep using temporary things as their goal, you're not motivating them internally. If pleasing you is a goal, that's not going to motivate them for the long term. It has to be something that comes from inside of them, that when you're not there, they can hear it inside of them. So it's very important that our goal has to be something that they recognize, they believe in, and they're running towards. So that's very important, right? Coping with stress. Why does the athlete over and over and over again put themselves under stress? Again, because of the goal. Again, because of the self-belief, but also because they can take it. They don't put themselves under the stress that they cannot take. They don't give themselves more than they can bear. And I know what I mean by this is that it's not that you don't push yourselves, but you push yourself knowing that you can do it. You push yourself to the level of, becoming a doctor because you know it was inside of you. Does that make sense? So that's, you push based on knowing what you can do. Again, that's self-belief, but that's also what you've done before and also your practice and how prepared you are. How many instances have we given our children to practice resilience? Because if we're not practicing resilience and trying in an environment where they can try and fall and get back up, then when they get out into the real world, they don't have anything to hold on to say, I can actually do this. Where's the confidence going to come from when they haven't got the experience? So that's another thing. The mental reservoir of strength, again, links to everything we've said, right? Let's just look at what not having resilience looks like. Overwhelmed, difficult, you fall, you can't get back up. You start to use unhelpful coping mechanisms. I'll just pause it because if our kids are not resilient, then they could use unhelpful coping mechanisms to deal with difficult challenges, and we don't want that. So teaching them resilience is very important. Right. Okay, this is what we've already talked about, the journey to resilience. And this is something I imagined. I went through it myself and I thought, what would resilience look like? How would we get our children there? Yes, we have on one side, we have the self-belief, and then we have the goal. These two things are crucial. Let's make sure that we are pushing those with our children. I can explain in more detail how to get that. Think about, I hear this so much. You hear lots of people talk about, limiting beliefs, and they talk about, the inner voice, that if I could just get rid of that inner voice. And I listen to them, and you hear people tell you how to get rid of the inner voice and the limiting beliefs. And I'm the little voice in the corner saying, how did that voice get in there? How did that voice get in there? Who is that voice? Because we weren't born with that inner voice. And it's funny because people say this to me. I have had quite a few people say to me, based on what I put out on Instagram, they say to me, I was about to shout to my child and I remembered your voice. I'm like, I was about to smack my child. I just remember, that's me. Some of these people haven't even met me, and they're responding based on what I put out. So where do you think your inner voice comes from? Where do you think your child's inner voice comes from? It comes from you. What you say to them becomes their inner world, because when they come into this world, they're looking for you. They really are looking for mom and dad. What are you going to tell me about myself? Where am I going? Tell me about this environment. Tell me about this new place. I'm here to learn from you, and I'm here to love you and for you to love me. So they're looking for that love, and they don't know what you say to them becomes what they think about themselves. And this is why my number one message is love, love, love. Because when you're not there, we all know this, and we're sitting down on our own. That voice that's telling us, I'm rubbish, I can't do it, why did I even bother? That's the voice of negative beliefs. You don't believe in yourself, and it comes from what you have heard by the people you love around you. 1 million people can say things about me. Do you know it won't bother me? Just get my close friends, just get my family to say those things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's taken me a lot to be able to not react or respond to what they say. But when you're a child, you believe every single thing mommy, daddy says. Now, I know our intentions. Being a parent, I know our intentions, but I keep saying to parents, your intentions are known to you and I. Your child doesn't know your intentions. Your child just knows your reaction and your words. What are you saying? Every time you're harsh, every time you're unkind, every time you're quite frankly mean, you believe that you're trying to toughen them up to get them somewhere. They are hearing, I'm not good enough. I'm not good. That's why mommy's talking to me like this. I'm not worthy. This is why she's saying this to me. Maybe mommy doesn't love me. This is why they're always asking you, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? What we say is so important. We have the loudest voice, so it's important we speak the loudest, because guess what? Every single one of us here is looking for love. If our children don't feel loved by us, it doesn't matter what we mean. If they don't feel loved by us, they'll look for it outside. I can bet you £100, £1 million. That's £100. See me, I'm so cheap. I can bet you loads. They will go out and they will look for this love. This is why in my classroom, when I speak to my students, they gravitate towards me. It's simply because they're looking for that. That's all it is. So truly, your parents can give that to you. But then when my son's teacher says stuff to him that is not very nice, guess who he comes to? Straight to me. My teacher said this to me, mommy. Is it true? I know that you always say something different. Why did she say this? You see the difference? Because so our voice has to be the loudest, guys. It's very important. Right. So I'll move on from that. And let's now go to this statement. Let's look at this statement. We want to build resilient kids. World is a tough place to live in. If you agree, say yes, say aye. In the chat, I can't see the chat, but please help me out. Do you agree with the statement? Aye.
Aye.
I agree. The world is a tough place to live in. It's tough. And I'm just going to pause, and I'll try my best not to be so sad. And this is, I'm getting to the place where I can talk about this without being as sad as I used to be. The world is a tough place to live in, but it's quite tough for our Black kids. Guys, let's be honest. It's quite tough for them. I see the difference. It is tougher for them. Let's be honest. This is not, woe is me, feel sorry. It's the fact. They see it. Our previous speaker touched on it. they have enough to deal with in the world. We don't need to add. They need to be able to come home and know that they're in a safe place, because when they go out, it's pretty tough. That safety, that love that we show them at home is their mental reservoir of strength. So when they go out and people start with them, they're like, it's like bulletproof. It's bouncing off them because they know who they are. But when they're over-criticized at home, let me interrupt myself again. We over-criticize them sometimes because we're trying to help them. So don't worry about your intentions. If you're on this table of, criticizing, always being there, shouting, it's because, look, let me be honest with you. It comes from fear. You know what the world is like. You know the world is ready to eat them up. You know that things are tough. So that fear, you're like, I don't want my child to crumble. So I'm going to toughen you up. And the way I'm going to toughen you up is by being tough. So let's start again. The world is a tough place to live, yes. So we must raise our kids to be tough. Okay, yeah, we want them to be tough. We want them to be mentally strong, and I'll do so by being tough on them. This is where we differ. No, we don't raise tough, mentally strong, resilient kids by being tough on them. No. This is where we make the mistake, because actually our tough, harsh, strictness, meanness, actually, and I know where it's coming from, those sorts of things with the good intentions actually makes them feel they're not good enough. Do you know what it does? When they feel at home that they're always criticized, they're not hearing that my mom is trying to teach me, my dad is trying to teach me. They're hearing, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough. What makes me sad about that is that when they go into the world with that belief that they're not good enough, there's something wrong with them, guess what the world does? It reinforces it. These are our Black kids are already facing all sorts, and in some cases. So it reinforces what they are feeling from their home, so it sticks. And that's why continuously, despite the brilliance in us, we still put our heads down when we should lift it up. Us adults. All of us that have even reached high places could have been higher. That's why we still say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. People pleasing, because we don't have enough of the confidence that we should have, because it's being reinforced in the world what we are believing from home. I want our children to even be overloved so that they can be confident when they go out. Do you know, let me say something, just I'll move on. I don't want this to be a different talk, but do you know that when we are very harsh with our kids, and some people use corporal punishment and hit their kids or whatever, do you know that to the child, they feel that that's unfair? They feel like they don't deserve it, but they feel like this is where they're treated. Do you know that when they watch the news and they see Black people being treated the same way, it reinforces that this is the way we deserve to be treated? You think you are teaching them, they are saying this is the way we're treated everywhere. At home, I'm telling you, at home, on the news, yes, my mom used her hand, my dad used his belt or whatever, the policeman used a gun. Guys, all right. So the world is a tough place to live in. And so I don't agree that we need to be tough with them. That's not the way to them. I want to talk about tough love, because I hear this a lot. I hear tough love a lot. And I know, listen, if this was a talk on intention, I would have been done. Because the intention of my sisters and brothers, my African parents, the intention is good. We want our children to just like boss this way. Like I know. So this is not a talk about intention. It's the misguided actions that have been learned from our parents, that have been learned from society, that have been instilled in us because of our fear. A lot of times we know what we went through. We don't want our children to go through that. So we become even harder. Meanwhile, it's just the wrong approach. And that fear is what actually makes a cycle repeat itself. So let's talk about what tough love is. I feel like I've scared some people, but are you brave enough to tell me what tough love means to you? What? Just a couple of words. What is tough love? Why can't I see this chat? What is tough love to you? Because people use it positively. When you say tough love, what do you mean? I think I've stopped sharing. I'll keep sharing now. Doctor, if you can tell me what people are saying, because I'm... Sorry, you're muted.
So far, I've just put something. So there's a couple of comments, but tough love, I've just put, okay, so I said delivering consequences for obviously action.
Yeah.
Someone said authoritative. Fumi says authoritative. Any other comments on tough love?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and someone said, I think tough love is being able to put down the law when it hurts. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I get that. And I get where people are coming from. So the fact of the matter is our children need consequences. Why? Life gives.
Sorry. Oh. Delivering truth without kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not sugarcoating things, staying realistic. So kind of similar, isn't it?
Okay. So I hear all these things, and yeah, that's what people mean. But the thing is, people talk about tough love and use that as this is a good thing. This is what I should be doing, right? My thing is this. I'll come to my thing. Okay. First of all, consequences are essential for our children. They need consequences. Why? Because we all face consequences in life. I can do a whole other thing about consequences. A lot of times, the best kind of consequence is the natural consequence. Let them face the natural consequence of their action, right? We don't always have to step in to deliver the consequence. I have been teaching for 15 years. I have not once given a detention for not giving me homework. Not once. I have never given a detention for not submitting homework. In fact, when my 16 to 18-year-olds turn up in school, in my class for the first time, I tell them, hello, my name is Mrs. Bolu, blah, 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 blah. And then after my short speech, I say, and you will never get a detention from me for not doing your homework. Whether you do your homework or not is up to you. It's your decision. Do you have A levels? Do you have a goal? Do you have university you'd like to attend? Do you have a career? Do you have a path? If you believe that you have somewhere you're going, then you will do the work I set for you. I promise you, I'll never waste your time by giving you useless work. I'll always give you work that'll be beneficial for you. If you don't do it, that will be your problem. However, I might need to inform your parents once in a while because they expect you to be doing it, but there's no punishment from me. Why? Because they will face the natural consequence. And I tell them, you don't keep up with the work, you will not get your A level, and that will not be my problem. And then I relax. Every single year, I have 9 out of 10 that submit their homework without delay. I'm telling you this, my students will tell you, 9 out of 10 of them. And included in that 9, you will have 1 or 2 that have delayed once or twice, or they've maybe missed or forgotten once or twice, and they come to you, they apologize, and they say, oh my goodness, miss, I'm so sorry, and they hand it to you. There will always be 1 that cannot keep up. And that 1 was never going to keep up. And I was never going to break my back. Because that child knows, he knows, I know, we know that we know, the whole class, in fact, everybody knows, their parents know. But bear in mind, I'm speaking to 16 to 18-year-olds. Your children are young, so what you want to be teaching them from that young age is the fact that I said to you, for example, if my child lies to me, I don't really go out to them and make them feel like, oh, you lied to mommy, I'm so upset with you for lying. I ask them how they feel about lying. They don't feel good. I want it to come from them because when I'm not there, it's going to be internal. I tell them every time you don't tell me the truth, guess what? I don't get to know you. I don't know you because you keep deceiving me. I don't know you. And they're like, they want you to know them. So these are the things, you put it back on them. That's the natural consequence I'm talking about, but that's a whole other thing. Let's talk about what the world sees tough love to be, and we touched on it. So I'll try and go as quickly as I can. So I just want to touch on a few words here. Tough love, in Oxford and Cambridge definition, promotion of a person's self-worth, especially that of an addict, child, or criminal, by enforcing certain please. Let's go to the next definition. I've moved on. I've made my point. Next one. Deliberately not showing too much kindness to a person who has a problem, so that the person will start to solve their own problem. A way of dealing with someone who has a problem, in which you don't show a lot of kindness, so they try and solve it themselves. An expression used when someone treats another person harshly or sternly with the intent to help them in the long run. The practice of being very strict with someone in order to help them overcome a problem with their behavior. Our children don't have problems. Our children are here to learn from us. We are here to teach and model. They don't have problems. This word tough love, I'll tell you where it came from. We are not to show our children tough love, we're to show them love, unconditional. That's what helps them. That love, if you break it down, and I'm breaking it down from what I believe is the true definition of love. I know that everyone here might not be a Christian. I am. The true definition of love comes from 1 Corinthians for me and the rest of the Bible. Patient, kind, not easily angered, holds no record of wrong, protects, all these things. Have a look at it. That's what love actually is. And that's what will help our children grow. They're not here with a problem that we're trying to correct. Let me tell you where tough love came from. This guy on the right is Bill Milliken. And even he is not happy that he wrote this book anymore. I'm exaggerating, but he wrote this book. He and another guy, two of them are white guys, they wrote this book to try and correct the youth, the African-American youth that were on drugs, crime, and all that kind of stuff. They went into their society trying to say, oh, that these people, the best way to help them, since they're criminals and drug addicts, we want to help them because we are, lovely, I think, Christian brothers, we want to help them. So we will use tough love. A lot of the things we use in our parenting comes from how we were treated. This is a whole different webinar I'll be doing later on. Trace it back. Where did it come from before I bring it into my home? As for me and my household, that's all I'm saying. I use love. The true definition of love. I'm not going to use anything else. This was used to try and correct addicts and criminals, African-American addicts, and they have no problem using what kind of tough measure? Say, I'm trying to help you, so I whip you, for example. No, that's not help. There's something called, psychologists will agree with, there's something called pacing and leading. And what that thing is in psychology is basically where you tell 10 truths or 5 or how many truths anyway, enough truths, slip in a lie, and nobody notices because they've heard all the truths. So in his book, he has a realistic Christian love, because I can't do the one that God said. So this is one I've made that's realistic for me. You see, a lot of times when we can't meet the standards, and this is, I know it's hard now, guys. Not only have I sat with how many kids for 15 years, they can frustrate your life. I get it. Look, I am not talking because it's easy. I'm not talking because it's quick. I'm talking because it's true. I know that with patience and persistence, I see the best outcome for these children. I don't raise my voice in my class and they listen to me when I speak. There's a teacher that raises their voice. As soon as he goes, they can't start talking again. Then they insult him on top and curse his whole family. I ain't nah. You see, this is what our children might not do that, but they would decide. See, it affects relationships. So anyway, another one I'm going to mention, but I'm not going to touch on today, is spare the rod and spoil the child. Parts of it were taken out of the Bible, used by a guy called Samuel Herbert, I think is Samuel Butler, wrote a poem, twisted it. He wasn't even talking about children. When he wrote the poem, he was talking about something else. Took it from the Bible, twisted it, and then people have adopted it, brought it to their home, use it to beat their kids. Guys, let's just make sure that what we learn to raise our children, and a lot of times it affects our families more because we want our children to be really well behaved. We're very conscious, African parents, we're very conscious about raising respectful children. And that to me is crucial. And we must keep up with that beautiful thing. But the way we raise respectful children is through relationship, not through harshness. It's actually through love and relationship. They don't want to do this because they realize how important they are to the world. And that's why purpose is very important. Right, I'm going to try and, this is the last slide now. So that journey to resilience, we started with, on the right, talking about having a purpose, a goal, and all of that. Instilling self-belief in them and love, very important, okay, with the things we say. But let's now go through it. If you want to actually teach your child to be resilient, then you need to teach them to make decisions. One of the problems with authoritarian parenting or parenting where you say, do it, I told you so, is you don't teach them to make decisions. They have to do it because you said so. And when you're not there, they have to listen to the next authority. When they go to work, they have to listen to the next person. They stop thinking. When our children are put under stress and feel like they have to just respond to what you're saying out of fear, I'm glad I'm talking to doctors here. They're responding out of fear. They are actually just relying on the back part of their brain. Agreed? Their amygdala. They're not thinking. They stop thinking. They start focusing on protection, self-preservation. What do I need to do so I don't get into trouble? So that's why when my children get to class, I remove the fear of punishment, of detention. It's not there. Now, what's going to motivate you? If it's not coming from within, where is it going to come from? Because you need to start finding it inside now. I tell you, you need to find it. Because if you're trying to do the work, you know, when they tell you things like, Miss, here is your work. I say, hold on, it's not my work, it's your work. Whose work is it? It's your stuff. Do you want me to check it for you? Do you see what I mean? So you are teaching your kids to be able to make the right decision for themselves. Why do you need to brush your teeth? It's not to make me happy. Honestly, I have a very chill time. Once you get this thing, you will chill because they'll start to think, man, I don't want to be the one with smelly mouth. Let me just go and do it. It's not about money. You know, so that's what it links to internal motivation, and it links to self-discipline. You want to teach them to be, you want to help them. You do it by modeling. You do it by showing them. You give them the chance to try and fail. They will fail, they'll forget. But let them, you know, give them the opportunities. I'll move very quickly to the growth mindset. Every time we jump in to correct, we are telling them there's a problem with them for getting things wrong. It's normal to get things wrong, normal to mess up. But every time we jump in to correct, you're sending a signal to them that, oh my gosh, I'm not doing well by messing up. No, we have to make failure and mistakes normal. No reaction. Let them just keep going, because that's where they will learn. You see, try, and I know some of you know what I'm talking about. When your child does something, they're looking at you to see, am I getting it right? Am I getting it right? You see, that's because you've made whether they're getting something right now depends on your facial reaction because of how you raised or how you taught them, rather than them knowing what's right inside of them. You want to move that attention back to them. Okay? So again, problem solving, having options. With me, right from whatever age my child was, and I have, you know, the people that agree with me, I give them choices. I want them to learn to make decisions. When my children question the things I ask them to do, I'm doing somersaults and skips inside because I'm like, yes, challenge the status quo. Come on, give it to me. I'm ready. I want them to learn to be able to negotiate. I want them to learn to be able to ask, excuse me, this is not what you said yesterday. I'm happy. When my children are 10 and 7, I like them to challenge me. I don't see it as rude. If they are rude, we have a conversation later on. Not in that time, I let them express themselves. Later on, I might say, I love how you express yourself because I want them to. But remember, when you're trying to convince people, it's not about mommy now, it's the world. When you're trying to convince people, you don't need to shout at them. You don't need to insult them. But be very confident to make your views heard. But when as a parent we go, why are you talking to me like that? They're not hearing that my tone is wrong. They're hearing that confronting, speaking up for what I want is wrong. They're hearing that the whole thing is wrong. And we're stopping them from actually speaking up for what they believe in. If there's any question directed at me, I'm so sorry, I cannot see the chat. So give them options so they learn to choose. Take them through the process. Be patient and answer. You'll be building their resilience because they're learning how to face things. Empower them. Remember what we talked about, purpose, and this is a journey to purpose and a goal. When they feel empowered, when they feel like they have some control over their outcome. You see, a lot of times when we rule over our children, we disempower them. They now start to feel like they have to respond based on what you say rather than having any control. What's the point thinking for myself when you will not let me? You will end up doing what you have to do, when you have to do it, how you have to do it. Oh my gosh. I hate my mom. I love my mom. I hate my mom. I love my mom. Do you know what? I think I'm going mad. Why are we putting them under this kind of stress? Because they're just like, you know, so this is the thing. We want to let our children make a choice. In our heart, we might know it's the wrong choice, but if it's not going to kill them, let them go through that wrong choice and face the consequence. When my children come home on Friday, I ask them what their homework is. I talk to them about it. We look at it and I say, like, you know, your activities for Saturday, Sunday, can you please plan out when you're going to do it? They tell me when they're going to do it. Oh, I'll do one on Saturday. I'll do one and that's it. And all I might do is check. Have you done it? That's it. I'm chilled. No heartbeats. No, because if you don't do it, you go to school and you face the consequence. When you face it, then, and the consequence, guess what? The consequence might not even be a telling off of the teacher. Your child sitting in the classroom and everybody is passing their books to the front and they don't have their homework is enough to break. That child will be like, that's enough. The teacher doesn't even have to say anything. That's enough for them to think, I'm not going to do this tomorrow. Let them face the natural consequence. That's a natural consequence. Okay, so the next thing is, the biggest thing, but I'll keep it short. We can talk about this later on. The emotional mastery, the emotional intelligence and management. They need to be able to empathize with other people, and they also have to have insight. Every time we validate their feelings, it helps them understand that it's okay to feel. They understand that feelings don't mean that that's who they are. I feel sad doesn't mean I am a sad person. We need to stop, if we're doing this, we need to stop ignoring their feelings. Your child is feeling very emotional about something. Stop crying. Oh, the worst one is when some parents smack their children and say, wipe that tears off your face. I can't even cry on top of the beating again. What kind of life is this? God. So please, we have to help them understand that emotions are okay. Let them feel their feelings, and we help them understand how they feel. A lot of us here, as children of African parents, a lot of us here who have studied and achieved a lot academically. I'm looking at, doctors and medical professionals. I know you've worked hard. You have academic resilience. Guess what? I thought I was resilient. Why? Because I have academic resilience. And I give me the tough things. I'm gonna boss it in the class. If I fail, it's not even a failure, because the next time I'll come back on top. I had that. But what I didn't have was emotional resilience, and I didn't realize it. It means that, you know how a child with academic resilience, you can see it, because you know how a child will say, I don't want to do this. I hate maths. I don't want to do it, right? So you say this child is not resilient, right? But when it comes to emotional stuff, what you don't realize is that you might have a child, or you have someone like me when I was a child, not even trying to be friends with certain people. It's the same thing. That's the emotional side. I wasn't resilient enough to have different relationships. Certain relationships I couldn't manage because I wasn't taught how to manage my emotions, because my emotions, I was told to shut up when I felt certain things. So it then means that I cannot really cope. When a boss or when someone says something about my character, I couldn't manage it because I didn't really know who I was. I can do the A-level. I did 3 A-levels in 9 months. Oh, I can do that kind of stuff. Don't worry about that. You guys can get your medical degree. Let them just say one thing about your character now. You've crumbled. You're under the table crying. Because you haven't been taught the emotional mastery. So in a sense, you're still not resilient. This is the key thing I think we need to teach our children in this context of Black women in health or African parents. The emotional mastery, we have to engage in the emotions with them, the conversation, or else they feel they can't deal with it, so they avoid it, and then this is what makes them crumble. We really need to build them up in that way. So I'm going to just stop there. I think this is the last thing. I want to talk about what makes it, summarize this slide, summarize it, the 3 things that we can do to help our children be resilient. The 3 things that we need is faith, and that faith, what I'm talking about here, is belief in yourself. Of course, as I've already said to you, I'm Christian. I know not everybody is, but faith for me is also, belief in God. But if we're just looking at it, you need to have self-belief to be resilient. You need to believe that you can do it. Faith. Give your children that self-belief so they know they can do it. What's the next one? Hope. Where am I going? I'm going somewhere. I believe that I have hope in my future. I have a concrete future. Don't make it too vague. Something concrete. And that comes from the child's strength. Faith, hope. And I'm sure we can guess the last one. Love. And the greatest of these is, absolutely, you want to raise a resilient child? Yeah, you've got to give them faith. Belief in themselves is the minimum. Of course, if you're a Christian like me, belief in God is the next level. Believe in themselves is the minimum. Hope in what their future holds. And I'm sorry, there's no top university determines your future. So we can't have that as a goal. It's your purpose. And that's a whole other webinar thing, which is later on. Love. Our children's idea of love comes from how we teach them love. If we withhold kindness from them when they do not do so well and show it when they do well, they start to see love as conditional. No, we don't. It's unconditional. There's no other definition of love but the true definition of love. It's unconditional. I accept you. I love you, my child. When you're saying that, you're talking to their heart. That's what toughens them up. That's what toughens them up. I can face anything because I have support in my corner. I have mom and dad. They have my back. So I can face anything. So please, very important. This is why I stress it. And that's it from me. I'll just mention how the things that are coming up. So I'm going to be doing a why we must stop beating our children. I have to mention this. I can't do this one without mentioning that. And I will do a raising your child on purpose. I'm going to leave you now with my favorite reel that I designed specially for you guys. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to share this one with you because I absolutely love it. And this was done just for us. So let me see if I can, I don't even know how to do this. Give me a second. And then that will be the final thing. Please, if you have any questions, please start dropping the questions whilst I show you my final thing, just to summarize, and we can all, please ask me questions. Feel free to unmute yourself because I'm not going to be able to see you. I'm sorry, see the chat for now. I don't know if I can see chats now. So let me leave you with this reel that tells you what I truly believe about all of this stuff. There we go. Yes, I do love making these rules. So let me leave you with this one. I actually made this one for you guys. How do you put this out? Yeah, let me do it again. There's a sound there. Hold on. This is for you guys. So one more time, just so we can see. Tough love does not make kids resilient. It doesn't. What does? That's it, guys. Thank you very much. I'll put it off now so that we can hear. Okay, thank you so much. So I think I'm done. I am done. If you do have questions, please, over to you, Dr. Ife. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ebiere. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure listening to you and watching you. I always feel so encouraged every day. It's a journey as a parent. Every day they do something wrong. I go and watch your Instagram. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Ebiere, come on. So it's always a pleasure, and I really appreciate that you've come to encourage us, teach us. And for me, I'm someone who always likes to learn and make myself better every day. But there was one thing I was gonna in the Bible, obviously, sorry for those who are not Christians, when they say foolishness is in childhood bosom, right? What does that even mean? Like, because children really are weird and they do some really, really random weird things. What
You're absolutely right. They come into this world not knowing how to navigate our world. A good example I will give, imagine now if I carried you and I took you to China, there will be foolishness in your bosom. You won't even know how to speak, So yeah, they don't know how to navigate the world. They are, and I know that we know this as medical professionals here, that their brain develops from the back, right? So how parents, this is, in fact, let me give you free one, a nice reel coming up from me soon is, when the parents say, what, don't you think before you act? Actually, mom, no, I act before I think. The thinking brain is still developing. So they are absolutely coming into this world, not knowing. They do things that you'll be thinking, but why? But actually, because they're looking to you to teach them. They're looking to you to teach. Guys, let's be honest. I've talked for, I don't know how long now, and you guys didn't interrupt me. You let me talk. But if I ask you tomorrow all the things I said, and we did test, some of you will not get 100%. So why do you think your child is going to remember everything you said? Like, you have to say it again and again, try different ways. And you have to, because you are the loving teacher. That's all. You have to model it. Yeah. Every time I see a behavior in my child, do you know what I do? I pause and observe. I'm looking at them thinking, what have I done here that has created this behavior? I never think what's wrong with you. I think, what have I done? Because something I have done somewhere or something I've allowed is manifesting itself here. So I start watching. Then when I start watching, as I'm trying to observe this thing, I tell my husband, I'm like, watch out. Something we've done is manifest. So we're all now both on the watch. Like, And then as we're watching to find out what the root cause is, we start upping our kindness. It is through that they then reveal what's going on, or else they run away from us. Okay.
See why I asked about, I mean, there's a lot to take in, loving in spite of, we're not Jesus, but we're going to try.
That's difficult for you. If he is the chief of tough love, bro.
I'm
you finding it difficult to take it?
It's not. It's just because I don't know, maybe, I'm funny enough, I guess my parents weren't tough for me, but I guess, being so regimented, I think I'm a medical person in the UK, no one to help you, and you're just generally regimented, and you're tough. I'm tough on myself. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you do something, like, why do you do that? Like, no, you get consequences straight away. So it's trying to recondition it to get really all nice and soft.
I
We're
love
learning every day.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I think you've touched on a very key point. The fact that the way we treat our children is the way we treat ourselves a lot of the time. Hard on yourself. And how that helped you sometimes? If you think about when you're tough on yourself sometimes, right? If it's because you know you can do better, it's because you can do better. So you're like, no, come on, do better. That's fine. But with the child is learning. They don't have the reservoir that you have. They don't have the back experiences that you have. Sometimes when you are tough on yourself, you actually don't have any basis to be tough, and you end up crumbling. I know I'm right. They're too. So this is so guys, and this is it with our children. We don't, because the toughness is coming from outside. You can regulate your toughness for yourself, because at some point you guys were like, man, Netflix, man.
I can't kill myself.
I can't kill myself. But when it's with a child, they're not allowed to regulate the degree of toughness. They're just receiving it in, this from us. Guys, it's hard.
It's interesting to know. Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you. You're right. I guess sometimes we as mothers as well, we need to, the other day you asked me, is my house always clean? I think about it, and anyone who walks into my house, it's a huge house, 5-bed. Everyone is spanking clean. So it's like that sort of regimen, everything is like pom, 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 pom.
I could sense.
And I was like, well, that's true. Kids' bed always arranged. You're trying to make it like you're like a soldier. Do you understand? So
you see, on a serious note, I'll be honest with you, because what then happens, and you guys, in fact, I'm not even talking about, not so much about your children. Think about yourselves. What happens with that is that when mom and dad are not there, you will relax. In fact, the kind of relaxing you do is like, you want to be too much, because you had to be at ease all the time. So once they're not there, and that's what we're trying to avoid. I'll be honest with you, and this is because of the practice and the stuff I've instilled. When I am not at home and my children are either with their dad or with a babysitter or whatever, they do much better than when I'm there. And that's the report I keep getting. I come back, I'm like, you've done all this? Because they realize there's nobody there. I've got to show what I can do because of what I've been telling them. When I'm there, they actually do less, because I don't know how to explain it, but you have to realize the true impact is when you're not there. And sometimes when we're too hard on them, they over chill. So.
Okay. So see why I asked you a question about, how about, see why you commented, if you only live once. So
my dear.
Attention. So see why I said something about, how about when parents have different parenting styles, what would you advise? Yeah.
That is a serious thing. No, I'm telling you, I will answer you now, but it's a serious thing. It's not to be taken lightly, especially when it's opposite. However, if you have a parenting style. My advice, let's say I'm talking to the one parent here that has a parenting style to the other parent.
Let me pretend to.
Yeah. No, if you're pretending, you'd have like, stop it, mommy, this is on you. So let me carry on. So if you have two parents that have different parenting styles, I'm speaking to one of you here now. The one of you here, keep learning and keep ensuring that your way is the correct way, not your way. I don't have any way that is my way. I go and learn the truth. So when they tell me tough love, I go to biblical love. That's where I get my own truth from. When they tell me spare the rod, beat your child, I go to the Bible. Oh, the rod is it's not about, find out the truth. As you continue to parent, tribe-based parenting with the truth, you are modeling it. Trust me, the results will show. If you start going to the partner and you start saying, you have to do it this way. No, you're just an antagonistic, annoying person. Please don't do that. They'll see it, even when you're trying to help. Just keep in your way. There are two ways to show. It's to show in the children's outcome, but to show in the way the children respond to you. Well, I'm not saying your way, the correct way. Because if you feel that the correct way is being harsh, your children will run away from you to the partner that's being permissive. The permissive way is not correct. The harsh way is not correct, but they will still run to that person. So just choose the correct way, which is love and which is being honest with them. Learn the correct way, do it. You will see the result in the children. Some of you sitting here know which parent you like to talk to. You know which of your parents actually did the right thing. You know now. The one that was always nice to you and never gave you consequences and always said you can take whatever you want. You're not happy with them now. And the one that was very hard, always smacking you, always shouting at you, you don't have a good relationship with them either, unless you mended it. It will show in future. So with that partner, my advice is learn the correct thing, do the correct thing, and let them see through modeling. When you find something, you can talk about it with them, but you're not telling them. Telling them doesn't work very often. It doesn't, it's too confrontational. So you can invite them to things like this and, try your subtle ways, pray,
So three final questions, hopefully. So two are kind of similar. Funke actually asked a valid question. She has young children. She said, please, naughty corner is important, so I want to know. And the second question, which is pretty much similar, is from Chika, is how do you deal with a toddler that wouldn't listen at all? Of course, it's normal at that age, but how can you get them to start? And that's the same thing. How do you get them to start listening early? Do you see?
Okay.
The other question is pretty similar. Is how do you manage a child who's always challenging the rules? So I guess kind of similar questions.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so the first thing, see, that question is a lot loaded. Like when I speak to parents, this is why I ask, like you said, Dr. Ife was saying, when I spoke to her, I asked her questions. So the best answer I can give is when I'm actually talking to you directly. But let me give a general answer. When you say you want to get your child to listen, my question would be, why? What exactly are you asking them to listen about? You want them to listen to everything you say. Is that for your convenience or for their own growth? You see, these are the things. Because for me, it's not that I don't want my children to listen, of course, but I have to think about it. If it's more about my convenience, listen quickly because I don't have time, sharp, 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 then I'm not actually teaching them. I am just trying to get them to obey me quickly because I haven't got time, and that's not right either.
No, it's like, keep that thing, how toddlers are. Keep that thing, come back, this. Of course, they don't listen. My son don't listen, he just keeps scattering,
Okay.
Except you threaten to beat or something,
No.
It's like nothing works.
No. Okay. So with a toddler, what we see as, in fact, if memory just came back, flashback, I will never forget the sight of my son's room once when he was 2. I literally just sat on the floor and looked at this thing. As in everywhere, like everything that could have been brought down. We as parents might see it as scattering. This child is exploring, guys. I know it's annoying for us adults. Before I had children, I know how my things were done. I know that if I put my shoe here, I will find it there. I won't find it on the TV. Do you understand me? It will be there. But you see, these children, it's not that you let them, do whatever they like, but you've got to realize where they are coming from. And you've got to realize that how you are, the meaning you're putting on it is not the same meaning they are putting on it. So when they've done that, quite frankly, at that moment, you can ask straight to my first thing will probably ask, oh, what have we been doing here? What have you been playing with? Okay, now we're going to have to put this together when we're done. And you will together with them, help them. The more they continue to see the pack away done together, they will understand that that's what they will even help you. But when you go there, say, stop it. These things are not making sense. Stop it. Come back here. Drop it. That's not really something that a child understands. Because if you tell me drop it, I don't understand why and what I'm doing wrong. So that's not telling me that tomorrow I'm going to pick up again. It doesn't really make enough sense to them. So you really have to understand where they're coming from, communicate with them on that level, and help them together. Now, one of the things is parents a lot of times tell children to go and clean their room. Really, children don't really know how to do it, especially when they're that young. So go and pack up your toys. You will really have to work with them and find a fun way to do it with them. So I think the key thing I'll say to parents is our instruction a lot of time is based on what we want for our peace and quiet. It's not always how the child is seeing it. We have to find a way to work with them. Your 2-year-old will not always listen. Now, if they've done, I'll just give you one example. I have one example. I'm very big on books. We all have our thing, right? I had one example, my 2-year-old son tearing his book, and kids do that. He tore his book. I was so sad, but that's because I feel like I want them to live, the books to live for life. I knew that was my thing. First of all, he didn't tear it because he hates me, hates books, hates the page, hates the picture. He literally just tore. He didn't think, he just tore. He wanted to see what it felt like, maybe wanted to hear the sound. So that's not a case of me getting angry with him. I just said, you've ripped this page. Now we're not going to be able to put it, we're not going to be able to see the way it was before. Look at it now. Do you like the way it is separate? And he was just looking at me. I don't even think he really had a response to it. I said, our books are precious to us and they love us as much as you love them. Let's treat them with respect. And that was all. Simple. You just say it in a way that you make it. That's it. I don't need to get angry with him. He doesn't know. Now, after doing that, I took that book away. I said, this book is hurt now. I'm going to put it somewhere. For some reason, the whole interaction with it, he didn't keep tearing his books because he just felt like, now I've done it. Now I understand. I'm not going to do it again. So I think the communication with them is very important, just understanding their level. I'm not sure if I'm going on. I don't even know who I'm speaking. Oh, no, it's Metu. Hello. Okay, so I'll stop there. I don't know. It's not easy, but you have to be patient with them and try and see their level.
How about naughty corner? What is your take on?
Okay. Let me be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of naughty corner because I just feel like, again, if the child doesn't understand what's going on, if the child is meant to feel ashamed, like you've done something bad, go and sit there. It feels, but I'll tell you what I do. I would put naughty corner with something. So not just go away, go say naughty corner, whatever, but I would say, again, in a gentle way, and you've warned them and they know the consequence. I want you to sit out. I want you to sit out there. Mommy is going to come and speak to you. I always go and speak to them there. That's my own way. Because I don't want them to feel like you've been a nuisance here. Eradicate yourself from the family joy. Be gone. I don't want them to feel that way. I'm like, no, what you've done here is not okay. I've told you once, I told you 2 times, and I told you the 3rd time I'm going to have to remove you to come and speak to you. So now that it's come to that point, I want you now to, let's go here, sit there, and I will come to you. And I go to them, and I go to them quicker, and we talk about it. Now, can I just say something? The truth is, when my kids were young, I didn't even use naughty corner. And I didn't even know at that time that when I, say something, I should go and have a conversation with them. I didn't even realize. So there are things I learned too. I don't want anybody to feel like these are all the perfect ways that you should know from. I learned certain things, but I quickly saw that taking them away, making them feel ashamed didn't always work. So I always go and sit. Now that they're older, I tell them to go and sit in their room. They know I'm coming. And they sit on their bed waiting to talk to me, and we talk about it together. And once we've talked about it, I say to them, I understand you were angry and it's okay for you to be angry. You were angry, so you threw all these things around. That makes perfect sense. But I want you to remember there are things that you can do. And I'm already doing this because this is what I do with my kids. I say, remember, when we're angry, we can hold the outburst. Yes, we feel it, but we can pause. Yes, I know you can shout, but remember, and I teach them things. I teach them the breathing. I teach them ways to manage their emotions, because guess what? We all need it for life. If we don't teach them when they're young, they will grow up and they will shout at people when they're not happy. They will lose their temper when they're not happy because we're not teaching them the ways. So we have to teach them. So when I go and meet them, I remind them, I teach them, I say, when you feel it in your tummy, pause. Hold it together. Sometimes they say, Mommy, I'm trying. I say, I know, and I notice you're trying. Last time it took you longer. This time it's taking you shorter. Just keep trying. You'll get there. Every time you feel angry, and trust me, it means that I know and they know that they will continue to have outbursts, but it will get smaller and smaller over time. It might take months, years, but guys, I'm ready to wait for them to learn. I have no reason to rush them into conformity at the risk of losing the opportunity to teach them how to manage. Some of us are adults, so we don't know how to manage our emotions. We don't know. When we just shout. We've never learned that. It's true. So I'm prepared to spend years. Yeah. So I think
so the other question, which is the final question, was the final question is literally, that's the last question. I think you've already answered it, about a child who's always challenging the rules. You know, you have some children they're always doing the opposite.
I love it.
Yeah, how would you?
Let me tell you something. Let me start by saying, the child that always challenges the rules can be very frustrating. Oh, they can be the strong word, oh my gosh, they can be very frustrating, because they will ask you, but why? 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 But you said, and they're the ones that know what you said yesterday. Oh, but Mommy, yesterday you said this. But guess what? Some of you here listening to me, including myself, we are that child, and we haven't stopped challenging the status quo, and we'll never stop. Because the things that people see as perfectly normal, we say, hold on, but why? Where did it come from? Is this thing working? This thing is not the way it used to be. This is not, you need to let that child challenge. It might not be nice for you, but you have to let them ask the questions. That same child, I have a child like that, we talk and we're going back and forth. And I let him, I test him, I let him. And then if in that exchange, he starts to go into the state of raising his voice and being disrespectful, I keep going back and forth. Later on, I have a conversation with him, not in that exchange. And I'm very calm, I'm answering him. Later on, I go and say to him, remember, it's very important to ask questions and challenge and think of it's important, but you don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to lose your temper. And he says, Mommy, I know. I'll just get in heated. I'm like, I know, it's fine. And we try again. And constant practice, they get better. But if you shut them down, that kind of child feels like there's something wrong with them, because it's natural for them to question things. They have a natural curiosity. And that curiosity leads to the creativity. If you shut them down because to you, it's annoying. Do you know that what you define as rude is based on what your parents thought was rude? I will come to your house and I'll see your child asking you questions, and I'll be excited by the curious intellectual child who is questioning things. I will be almost seeing how their brain is ticking, getting excited, and you'll be getting angry that they're being rude in front of my friend. Your perception is very different. And your perception is based on how your parents told you what rude is. Be seen and not heard. If you speak, if you ask Mommy, you don't even have to go to but that's it. Shut down in whatever way. Listen, that child should be encouraged to speak, but should be taught in a separate situation how to speak. Encouraged to speak, but how to. Okay, yes, and trust me, he says, no, my teacher said, good, listen to him and hear. And if what the teacher is saying is not, you know it not to be right, you come back with your own view. How do you see it? Because that child you're having that intellectual exchange with, if you knew how neurons were flying in their brain connecting stuff, you'll be dancing, because you're growing an intellectual child. Yeah, of course you can't do. When it gets too much, I have a child like that, and that was me. When it gets too much, I'm like, son, honestly, I just need 5 minutes. And he'll laugh. He said, okay, mommy, I know. And the reason why he doesn't feel bad is because I listen 9 out of 10 times. So sometimes I say, look, listen, this thing you're saying, you just wait when we get in the car. But now that I want you to wear your socks, it's not a great time. So I'm not, because he knows I'm going to have the conversation, he's not worried. He'll laugh and then we can have it later on. But you see, I'll give you one quick example, and then I'll stop. Just this morning, so it's fresh in my mind, I was talking to them about the importance of using their time wisely. And I said, because you don't get your morning back. And my older son was like, yeah, that's true. Of course, the younger one that always said, yeah, but there's another morning tomorrow. And I said, yeah, but you don't get the same one. This is me, very, very calm. I said, no, but you don't get the same morning that you lost back. He goes, oh, do you mean I don't, because tomorrow is Sunday. So, but I'll get another Saturday morning next week. I'm like, come on, hit me. I'm ready. I'm like, yeah. Well, you see, that Saturday morning that you get is the 8th of May, 2001. You don't get the 1st of May. So you see, I put the year because I knew he was going to say, yeah, but it's another 1st of May in 2022. Yeah, I knew he was going to say that. So I became clearer. But you see, when I said that, when I explained it like that, he now said, oh, wow. And if you think about it, the more we wake up, the less mornings we have. Gosh, we really can't waste our mornings. You see, that's not even where I was teaching. Because I engaged, he got to that level. He's now taking it far. Now, the motivation not to waste his money is no longer from mommy. It's now in him because he decided in his own heart that every morning I wake up, I have fewer mornings. I'm not going to waste my morning. Guys, engage your child that challenges you. That's the one that's thinking.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been so, like, I can just be here all day and all evening, Ebiere, and I'm so thankful that you have come to enlighten us and encourage us and shower us with your knowledge and your experience and all the support. It's been amazing. Thank you everyone for coming. And I've taken notes. I don't know whether anyone else took notes. Me, I take notes. I go to the Instagram page and take notes. So yeah, follow her on Instagram. I think she's been very inspirational to me. And I just want to thank Meme for actually hooking me up with Ebiere. I've not met her before, but we've talked on the phone a lot with my parenting woes. Yeah. So follow her on social media and just sort of support what she does. I think she really does a lot of positive parenting in these times. For everyone who's here, we have our next session next month, and we'll have we have CY and we have Pam coming to talk to us about special needs children. Please share the link whenever we share, just put it out there for everyone who's willing to join in and learn. And people are asking for your Instagram, so what I'll do is I'll paste it on my Instagram. I'll share the story exactly, and I'll put it on BWIH network and people will just pick it up from her. Yeah, she has a Facebook page, Lentry, and there's a group as well. But yeah, I find the Instagram really educating.
I go on my as much on Facebook.
Yeah, she's the first person. When I go on my Instagram, she's the first person. And I just, listening for 5. And she has really short videos as well. So very short ones. So you just quick listen and just, go and go to work. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Omon. Thank you, CY. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I really, really appreciate that all of you came today. And I hope everyone has learned a lot and have a lovely bank holiday weekend. Bye. Bye, Chika.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, thanks everyone, and thanks to our speakers. It was really amazing, very stimulating talk. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. And Ify, thank you for coordinating this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. How will we get the recordings, please?
So Omon has sorted us out, I'm hoping. So hopefully we'll share it.
We'll share the link. I'll share the link by tomorrow.
Thank you, Omon.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll share it to you. Say bye-bye.
Well done, guys. It was so good. It was so good.
Oh, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi everyone.
Oh.